Okay, so far we know how to, in multiple different ways, figure out what 20% of 137 is, right? We know how to do that kind of thing. But what if I'm told that I gotta, that the tax here is 5% and the amount I paid in tax was $3.50. How much was the original price? In other words, if I don't know what the total is, I just know what the percentage is, and I know what that percentage comes out to be. How do I find what that total was, what the full thing was? So I want to do a couple examples where I do something like that. Okay, so when you're buying a house or often a car, they're going to want a 20% minimum down payment, right? There's always ways around that, but they usually charge much more interest then. So if we're looking at something like that, right, if we're trying to get this kind of standard 20% minimum down payment, and we've saved up $37,000 for a house down payment, how much can I afford? Well, when we're looking at something like this, hopefully it's at least somewhat intuitive that that 20% is the $37,000, right? I don't want to find 20% of $37,000. I'm just saying 20% of the home price is $37,000. Okay, so let's write that out. So 20% of the home price is $37,000. So again, we're not trying to find 20% of something in particular. We're saying 20% is $37,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this home price right here, I'm just going to call it X, right? Just so I don't have to write that whole thing out a bunch. All right, so how do I find 20% of X? Well, remember, 20% is 20 divided by 100, right? That's what 20% really means. And this of something means we multiply. So 20% is 20 over 100 times my home price, X, equals 37,000. Okay? This is definitely the hard part as we get started with things like this, is making sure that we've done it this way, right? Because again, 20% of 37,000 will not get us anything useful here. What I need is this. Okay. So now I just need to solve for X. I could just divide by this fraction on both sides, but then I'll have a fraction in a fraction, and I just hate that stuff. So I'm going to start by just simplifying this. So this 20 over 100, I can just put in my calculator if or just know that that's 0.20, okay, times X equals 37,000. Okay, so all I did was just write that 20 over 100 as a decimal. And now to get just the X by itself, I need to divide both sides by that 0.20. Remember, if I do it to one side, I better do it to the other side as well. That will cancel out the 0.2 over here. So I'm just left with X. And so X equals 37,000 divided by 0.2. Okay, so 37,000 divided by 0.2 gets me $185,000. All right, well, in today's housing market, that's kind of a depressing example that 37,000 still only gets us a super cheap house, but it is what it is. That's how we handle problems like that. All right, so there's a tiny bit of algebra here, but it's really just, as soon as we change this to a decimal, it's really just a number times X equals another number, just divide. And you'll have what you need in the end.